Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow guests,
Mr. Solis.
Alright, so as of last week, we recorded talking about NXT TakeOver. We're here now this week for the Elimination Chamber event. But before we get into that, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. Surprised that we're wrapping up February. That was fast.
Yeah, that definitely caught me off guard, especially today. I was logging in to get some schoolwork done, and as I'm logging in, it says week 8 because our quarters are 10 weeks each. And so I saw it was week 8 already, and I'm like, oh man, this quarter's already coming to an end, and then I get about a week
So
left.
I was just about to say, if it's week 8, you've got 2 weeks left feasibly, and then you'll be half a year into your collegiate career. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Golly gee, time is flying by.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe it.
And we're about 2 weeks away from the 1-year anniversary when we all were sent home.
Oh, yep. I'll never forget that day, just because, like, you get to school and, like, the whole news around COVID was just getting to its peak, or rising to its peak, and, like, no one knew what was going on. And at the start of the day, like, the moment we all walked into classes for our first period of the day, I remember it was on a Friday, we were told we're still staying in school. Then by the time first period was over, it was, well, they kind of let everyone know that they're talking about it. But then me and Ricardo were told by someone, they were like, oh no, like, we're for sure closing down and transitioning to online learning. So we knew that before a bunch of other people, and then by the end of the day, everyone learned that, yeah, we're transitioning to online learning. School.
That's wild to hear your perspective, because I'll tell you where I was at my respective school. I was having those conversations when they said, oh, they're talking about it. I was in the principal's office with the assistant principals and our office manager, our office staff, just making sense of, one, are we? And once we heard, it was around lunchtime when LAUSD confirmed that they were, and we kind of follow suit, Alliance. So we said, yep, that's it. So we spent the rest of the day making sense of how in the next 3 hours are we going to make sure every kid leaves the school with a functioning Chromebook and charger, and how are we going to know which one they have?
Yeah, and that was definitely where I'll give credit to the schools, because by the end of the day, they had fully printed out packets going over all the guidelines and everything, and like letters explaining to parents and stuff. They had them all printed out for every single student. Mm-hmm. Throughout the day, they were letting people know that since we're transitioning, since they let them know about like halfway through towards like the end, they let them know if you're gonna need a Chromebook, we're like, let your teachers know and stuff. And like, for such a late notice thing, they really ended up being prepared for it.
They did the best with what they could, with what they had, where they were, and and it was an impressive feat, to say the least.
Yeah.
Here's an impressive feat to feast our eyes on. Could the WWE churn out another special event a week after the last?
Oof. I mean, it's definitely tough, seeing as how they had to follow TakeOver Vengeance Day. And honestly, as I was telling Mr. Solis right before we started recording this, for me, it was a tough watch. It was pretty good, but at the same time, it was a tough watch.
Yeah, I definitely found myself kind of starting things while I watched, where NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day, I watched intently, with my full attention.
Yeah.
This one, maybe I was dusting some Legos while I watched.
Yeah, I was about like 10 minutes into the first match when I realized, wait, I need my laptop to take notes. Because like, I was like, oh, wait. And that's when like, I not really been paying that much attention to it. But like at the same time, I was trying my best to keep noting of things I would want to talk about.
And like the Royal Rumble, it's a ton of people and there's a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah. So before we get into the main show, I want to talk about the pre-show.
Okay.
So I don't know if you watched it, but I caught a bit of it. And on the pre-show, they announced that in what was originally supposed to be a triple threat between Bobby Lashley and Matt Riddle and Keith Lee was no longer going to be in the match. The kayfabe reason for it was that he has an injury.
At the hands of Bobby Lashley.
Yeah. So instead of making it a singles match, because that the match between Riddle and Lashley has kind of happened a lot on Raw, they decided to hold a fatal 4-way on the pre-show between Ali, Ricochet, John Morrison, and Elias as to who would take Keith Lee's spot, which was won by John Morrison.
Yes, it was.
Now, I bring this up because it was such late notice, essentially, that they brought up this whole Keith Lee being out. And they came up with a plan to sort of, in kayfabe, replace Keith Lee and still keep it a triple threat. And in my eyes, when I saw this match, I instantly thought, okay, whoever wins this is obviously going to be the one who takes the pinfall in this United States Championship match.
How funny you bring that up, because I was surprised they were keeping it a triple threat as well. I don't watch Raw, so I wasn't aware that Bobby Lashley and Matt Riddle have met one-on-one a few times.
Yeah.
So I was like, when I saw that they were going to keep it a triple threat, I definitely got the sense that, they wanted this to happen. Was it going to be Keith? Was Keith going to take the pin?
Yeah, that's what really confused me. Or were they going to have Lee win and have Riddle take the pin? It was really confusing. But then when I saw that it's John Morrison wins the match, I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure they're going to have Morrison take the pin. It's kind of obvious.
Thanks, John. Preach.
And I only bring this up because not only to give more context to the change in match card, but also the night ended up only having 4 matches. And that's because one of the matches got canceled, which was originally Asuka versus Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's Championship.
Right? We talked extensively about how that match was going to go, what it was going to mean for WrestleMania. We booked this company's women's division on Raw till May. And then what happened, Jack?
Well, the match doesn't even happen, and a lot of people were predicting it wasn't going to happen because on the Raw last week, Lacey Evans announced that she's pregnant, and it was also revealed that she's actually pregnant in real life.
Right.
And I only bring this up as me having an issue with it because they promoted this match up until the very day, and it wasn't even that on the day of Elimination Chamber yesterday that they put out some last minute announcement saying the match was canceled. They promoted it even going into the event as if it was going to happen. And I only brought the pre-show because on the pre-show, the panel was even talking about... the panel even brought up, we saw this Fatal 4-Way match come up to replace Keith Lee. What do you think is going to happen for Asuka? Who are they going to have some type of match? Or is there going to be an open challenge as to who challenges Asuka?
No!
They brought that up, and then in the show, they just didn't talk about it. They didn't mention anything about it being canceled.
It was none of those things. Can you imagine if Booker T was like, hey, what if they just completely ignore the entire division? And he was right.
Yeah, so...
Golly gee. I knew exactly where you were going when you brought up, I want to talk about the Charlotte match, or the Lacey Evans match, and then you started talking about Keith Lee. I went, oh no, he sees the writing on the wall.
Yeah. that really upset me because I was like, oh, okay, maybe they might at least just throw one of the lower card talents just to give Asuka a defense because she hasn't had a defense in a while. And no, they just straight up canceled the match without any.
Goodness gracious! Come on, you were advertising 5 matches. 20% of the card is pregnant. Goodness.
But so that happens. And now we start off Elimination Chamber with the Universal, I guess you could say, number 1 contender chamber match, because whoever wins the match, then right after, gets to fight Roman Reigns.
Right, and for folks who are unaware of what an Elimination Chamber is, we'll get more into it. But there's going to be 6 guys in a big old steel cage fighting for upwards of 30 to 40 minutes. The winner gets a match right afterward. Which is like, congratulations on running this marathon. You won the ultimate prize. A fight with a bear.
Oh, man.
Oh, well, I get a week to train and rest up, right? No, it happens at the finish line of the marathon.
Oh, man. But, so, we'll get right into it. The participants are Baron Corbin, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, and those 4 men are locked into pods inside the cage.
Right.
And the match starts off with Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. And
right.
They'll wrestle for about, I believe it's 5 or 7 minutes. And then
I don't know how consistent they were with those times, Jack.
Yeah.
I think there was some long old times in between the entrance.
Yeah, but so they stay 5 to 7 minutes. Sometimes they extend the time, sometimes they shorten it, depending on spots.
No one's keeping track.
Yeah, but
one guy enters until everyone's in. So you're at a disadvantage if you're in there first, and you're at a disadvantage the more people are in. So you want to eliminate people. The elimination chamber. You want to eliminate people as quickly as you can to keep sort of the obstacles up against you at a minimum.
Yeah, and I really like that they gave us the start of Bryan and Cesaro. The moment I saw that both men were starting, I was like, okay, we're gonna start this off with some good wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And the two get into it. They essentially have a little mini match between the two of them. When time up, Baron Corbin enters third.
Yeah, there's an art to the order that things happen. I think Baron Corbin next is a great foil because we are really into Bryan versus Cesaro, and Baron Corbin's a big old bully who will ruin everything. Nerds, bam! I'm just gonna beat up your heroes. Boom.
Yeah, and they really played that up because I noticed they really let him essentially go on a tear with against the two of them. He got in a lot of offense. He started working Bryan's leg and knee. And again, in headcanon, you think, oh, Corbin's working the leg and the knee because he knows Bryan's finisher involves his legs and his knees. But
I mean, at this point, he's been wrestling for so long. You ever get the sense that everything hurts all these guys? But I feel like he's maybe had knee issues before.
Yeah, but so Corbin starts working him over really, essentially they let him dominate for a bit. And then Sami Zayn is supposed to come out fourth. But as soon as he's about to be released, Corbin goes to immediately try and go after him. And Zayn's having them keep the pod closed because he doesn't want to deal with Corbin.
Yeah.
But while he's too busy focusing on Corbin, he doesn't notice that the ref on the outside opens the door and Cesaro walks right in behind him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he really gave it to Sami too, didn't he?
Yeah, he was absolutely battering him inside that pod. It was insane. And speaking of insane spots, later on you see Sami Zayn go up to the top of one of the pods and Cesaro follows him. Zayn tries to escape and Cesaro follows him, kicks him off down towards essentially the mat, and then you just see Cesaro using the chain of the cage and starts doing pull-ups on it.
It's a really cool moment, a really cool spot. Guys used to do push-ups, next to their prone opponent. This is next level that.
Yeah, Cesaro just proving how insane he is, in the ring especially.
Mm-hmm.
And then Corbin's the first one out as he taps to Cesaro's sharpshooter.
Yeah, absolutely. It happened. I'm glad Cesaro got an elimination.
Yeah, and I kind of expected Corbin. I either expected Corbin or Zayn to be the first ones out, but I leaned more towards Corbin.
Yeah.
I was Corbin's usually the one that goes out at least first or second, so it was expected. And then you see Kevin Owens is the fifth man to come out as soon as Corbin's eliminated. And instantly, Sami Zayn tries to convince Owens to work with him.
Yeah.